forming. The multitudes with one accord, meaning they were all in agreement that when Philip was preaching, when he was talking to them, they were giving him their attention. They were paying attention. They recognized him as somebody who was speaking with authority. I want you to be aware of somebody, okay? I want you to be aware of the person who needs you for anything, okay? Beware of the person who needs you to accomplish something, okay? If somebody says to you, I need you to get something done, that thing that they need to get done cannot be God's thing. Because God needs no one, okay? God doesn't need anybody to accomplish anything. And so beware of the person who comes to you and says, I need your help. If I don't have your help, we cannot accomplish this thing. Because that's not true. Or what they're trying to accomplish is not God's will, or it's not what God wants. You know, I read a biography of Hitler when I was a kid, and it stuck with me a lot of the things about it. Hitler was somebody who, when he was a young man, he spent all his days in coffee shops and bars, and he just loved to sit around and talk. And he loved to argue and debate and get into all kinds of discussions. He kind of formulated his ideas and his prejudices and his passions and all those things in those coffee shops. But you know, I think about that Hitler, who was sitting in the coffee shop as a young man, who felt completely impotent and powerless in the world, in the country that he lived. For him to accomplish the great vision that he had in his mind of overtaking Europe and making it his, and indeed the world, could he do that by himself? No. Could Hitler accomplish anything by himself that he imagined and dreamed for himself and his country? No. For him to do it, what did he have to do? He had to employ rhetoric and fear and power and persuasion and bully brute strength to get it done. He needed other people to accomplish his end. So that's the same way with Satan. Satan can accomplish nothing by himself. He is not powerful enough to change the course of world history and to enslave people and so on and so forth. He needs people's help. That's why he's a propagandist. Look at what he's doing. I mean, he is spreading his word, spreading his vision in music, in movies, in literature, on television, on the internet, in the school, in the government, in the science of this country, and all the rest. He is a propagandist. You see his propaganda everywhere. And why does he have to be so much propaganda? Because he needs everybody's help. But the church is not, we're not propagandists. You know, we do not need the world's help to accomplish our goal. Because our goal's already been accomplished. I mean, Christ has already risen from the dead, right? And his church cannot be assailed because of Christ. Christ needs no one. God needs no one. So what are we then? We are philanthropists. When Philip goes to Samaria, is he trying to drum up support from the Samaritans that he can kind of gain this voting block inside of Rome and in the Jewish community that they can kind of form an army in Samaria and then use Samaria to conquer the world? No, he's not doing any of that. When he goes down there, he's going there to bless those people. Okay. We, however, we need no one either. We are philanthropists, giving freely of the good news anywhere and everywhere. And that's the next thing I want you to understand. That's our responsibility and mission here as well. That we are here to give freely of the gospel that we've been blessed with, right? Right? Okay, we are philanthropists. Well, the final contrast I want you to see here is from verses 7 and 8. So look with me, if you would, at verses 7 and 8. Satan is bitter, we are rejoicing. It says, for in the case of many who had unclean spirits, they were coming out of them, shouting with a loud voice. And many who had been paralyzed and lame were healed. And there was much rejoicing in that city. Listen, you know, this picture of Philip exorcising demons out of these people. And how did the demons come out of these people? They came out squealing and shouting and being very upset, crying with a loud voice, you know, very bitter. Okay? Bitterness is the result of what? It's the result of a bad investment. Every time anybody is bitter, it's because they've invested in something they shouldn't have, and it didn't pay out. And now they've lost their investment, and they're upset about it, and they're angry about it. Okay? You know, at the closing bell of Wall Street every day, there are going to be some people who are popping champagne, and there are some people who are looking to jump out the 7-story window, right? And why is it so that at the closing bell every day you have some people who are celebrating, rejoicing, and some people who are bitter and want to end it all? It's because of bad investments. Some people invested wisely, some people invested poorly. Well, Satan invested poorly. What did Satan invest in? He invested in himself. He invested in the idea that God was not who he said he was. He invested in the idea that he was greater than God. He invested in the idea that he could somehow rest and take control of God's creation. He invested in the idea that his beauty, the power of his beauty, would win the day in the end. And all these things are wrong. He failed. Okay? Christ came and destroyed all of that. Christ came and was victorious. He lost. And so now what is Satan? He is bitter. Okay? He realizes his investment was bad. He realizes he's failed and he's lost. And so he's just a bitter person. But what are we? We are rejoicing. Because we've invested wisely. We sowed in our martyrdom. We lay down our lives in the waters of baptism. And that investment of laying down our lives has created a return and a new creation for us in the hope of eternity. And so we're just rejoicing. Like these people who overcame and enjoyed all these reverses of afflictions. And as they came to know Christ, that they rejoiced. So that's how we are. We're invested in Christ in the hope of the gospel and the kingdom to come. And so we're rejoicing. And so that's my word for you today. Listen, you cannot accomplish God's ends by being hateful, by being clever, by being a propagandist, and by being bitter. Okay? If you want to accomplish God's will and work in this place, you have to do the much more difficult job of being humble, being simple, having an excess to give away to others, to know the gospel, and you have to be full of rejoicing because you've experienced Christ in your life. Okay? And that's how we need to make our way to the ocean, so to speak. That's our way that we need to accomplish our will, our mission on earth. Okay?